Hello and welcome to the Needs Languages YouTube channel. I'm really glad you're here today. If you haven't yet, please do hit the subscribe button. We would love you to subscribe. On this channel, we dedicate it to personality, communication, how we create our belonging, anything along those lines. So we also have a QR code here that you can scan, that you can go to our website. We try and make it really easy for you to find us. Today, I'm going to talk about something super, super sad. Uh, but we don't talk about dark personalities. How are we going to protect ourselves or people who go dark? Currently, I am writing a book on dark personalities and how that happens. And I'm coming at it from a whole nother perspective than what's out there. I've done a lot of research on this. So if you would like to know more about that book or find out how to have that released, please make a comment below and in the chat. I am not releasing that book until I have enough people who really want to understand dark personalities um, from a processing perspective. It's going to be different. I'm going to tell you that. So today I'm going to shift gears right now. I'm going to talk about Stephan Sterns. Yes, Stephan Sterns. So this person has been accused of inappropriate things with a child, Jen Soto's daughter, and is alleged hasn't been charged yet with the murder of the daughter. Now, I'm going to go into some things here that, this is very, very sad. However, there are always warning signs. And what I want to focus on today is the warning signs, not to ever victim shame people, but to learn how we can see these things or prevent these things from happening in our own lives or see the warning signs. A lot of times we aren't trained to see the red flags or we ignore them. And so this video is really dedicated to understanding that and that aspect of what we're communicating. So I always say this. There are so many things out there that say, and there's proof that this happens. What we speak is what's in our heart. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your destiny. So I want to go over a few things that happened that were warning signs with this gentleman. Now, I've been doing research. I've been listening to interviews from his friends online and so on and so forth. So let's talk about that a little bit. Apparently, he had broken up with Jen Soto, but this is according to her friend, but really wanted to stay close to Madeline. Now, that kind of seems a little fishy, especially if they weren't like really in each other's lives for a very, very long time. And now, granted, you can have kids who love their new stepdad or stepfather, but that is where you have to create a place of safety for your kids to communicate that. I don't know if Jen did that because Jen, when you watched her interview, she would smirk and almost laugh and saying that her child was not very smart. Her child couldn't find her way home. Well, maybe if she directed someone, but didn't know her address. And so if you think your kid's not that smart, are you going to listen to what your kid says or are you going to ignore it and think you know better? That's also a sign that um, that she wasn't listened to, that Madeline wasn't listened to. And because when we think our kids are smart, we're going to listen to them. When we think people are dumb, we're not going to listen to them. Now, again, this is what body language experts have noticed. And a lot of times as parents, we aren't trained on certain things. So this is super important to really believe your children, really listen to them, and try and gather information. Now I'm going to continue on the parent thing for a second. Apparently, Stearns uh, was his, from what I've heard from his friends, he had a roommate and he had a camera and he was looking at inappropriate things on about children online and reporting his friend's girlfriend getting out of the shower and so forth. And Mama came over and paid this friend off not to say anything. But before that, they used to live in California and Stearns stabbed someone and they moved from California to Florida to avoid consequences. Now, this is so important for parents to hear. When your kids are doing things that are harmful to themselves or others, running away isn't going to solve the problem. Paying people off isn't going to solve the problem. What's going to happen is you're going to tell that individual, that child, that they can do no wrong and that they will never get caught. And we need to start looking at this as parents. And sometimes we have to have tough love. What would have happened if he would have gotten help when that stabbing occurred? You see, as parents, we've got to not cover these things up because then we're harming our kids in the long run. And, you know, do we end up holding Stern's parents responsible because they knew this was going on and they didn't do anything to stop it? Those are things I think we should look at because people are always showing you by their words and their actions who they are, what they're about. If not, if that wasn't the case, we wouldn't have body language experts breaking this down. So my whole point in this is that a innocent young woman, young child, however, whatever you want to say her age is no longer with us because things were not, the red flags were not listened to. So how do we start listening to the red flags? Well, we have to we have to really look at what people are speaking. There were some clues that he spoke that did not make sense in that interview. And no one picked it apart until after the interview when they were looking for Madeline before they found her. He said, she's asleep in the car on the way to school. Now, that doesn't make any sense. School was 5 minutes away. So, how do people a lot of times, like especially in religious communities, sometimes they'll refer to sleep as someone's already dead. So you see, that was a clue even in that moment. And the news reporters were not trained to listen, to catch that. They didn't take a step back and go, wait a second. What do you mean? I'm sorry. I'm a little confused here. School's 5 minutes away. Did you put her in the car? Was she already asleep? Why was she asleep at that time? That doesn't make any sense. This is what I'm talking about. That is a really good example of what I'm talking about when people are speaking words. And again, I'm sharing this so that we can start to learn how to create healthy belonging in our communities, how to be observant. It's not about judgment. It's about discernment. And there is a difference between the two. And I really want to make this clear. Judgment is, oh my gosh, you're bad, you're horrible, rotten. Discernment is, this doesn't look, I'm not quite sure about this. This isn't making sense. It's observing and then it's making an assessment in the situation of what you're going to do. So if the reporter would have observed and said, 5 minutes to school and being asleep in the car doesn't really make sense. Can you clarify that for me? Because I'm having a hard time. I would think that, most people don't fall asleep in the car 5 minutes on their way to school. Um, was she having sleeping issue? I mean, don't even ask that. Could you please further explain that? Don't say things and lead them on. You just say, hey, I'm not quite understanding that. That's what I'm talking about. And doing it in a way that gets people to open up and tell you more about themselves. When you like cross your arms over your chest and you're like, why'd you say it that way? People are going to read your body language even in a subconscious way. That's why it's observing with discernment. What's going on here? Not, oh, they're not telling me the truth. Hey, what's going on here? I would like some clarification because I'm not quite understanding that comment. When we do that, we open people up to be able to speak more about what's going on. And then we can make a decision on should we continue with this person or should we walk away from this person. Again, this is about learning so that we can protect ourselves, protect our children, get our children the help that they need. So these things don't keep happening. This is very sad. And could this have been prevented? Possibly, most likely, if he had been stopped at an earlier age. But then as parents, we've got to be able to look at that objectively and make sure that we are doing the best not only for our kids, for ourselves, and for our community. And sometimes that means you have to make some really tough decisions. But in the end, a lot of times it ends up being worth it. So I'm kind of ending on one of those really sad notes today, but there is hope. There's hope to learn, to be able to decipher. So on that note, I will see you next time. I hope this was really helpful. And I'm not going to go into what he's been charged with. I'm going to go into that for a second. He hasn't been charged with her murder yet, but he has been charged with abusing her. And that has come out just recently. So very sad, but very important that we start to learn these skills. So on that note, I'll see you next time, and please do hit the subscribe button. Bye-bye.